Hey everybody, welcome to game 2 of this preliminary series between Terra Incognita and Ichbineinkonto, who I will call Kanto. I'm Philothenic, joined by Black Magic.
Hey there. All
Terra
right,
has game 1. What do you think about this map, Black Magic?
so this is going to be an awkward kind of situation because there's no carbon and no iron in the northwest corner, and it is a glass colony. As long as somebody founds robotic, I mean, in my opinion, the best spot is up top in the southeast. Sorry, the northeast corner where the iron is. I'd probably end up going. Most likely, I'd go robotic there so I can just skip glass. Other than that, I mean, there aren't very many good spots. Oh, expansive is fine too because you can go all the way across the map to get some.
Terra
Interesting. Is this
takes
going to be a
expansive.
power spot?
Kanto goes for what looks like... No, it is not a power. He's building a quarry and 2 aluminum metal mines.
You know, let's see. Did Terra take any aluminum? Yeah, I'm actually okay with this. I don't know how it's going to work out long term because he can go into just collect a bunch of aluminum, and then as soon as Terra expands to HQ2, then he can sell all that down and then put up some solar panels to take advantage of the
Rising
higher
power
power
price.
price. And then he has a natural market into going into glass, which is going to expand. I'm actually okay with it based on what's left for the founds because there isn't a very good scavenger spot per se. The 2 carbon near Terror isn't quite enough, and then everything else is just kind of far away. So I'm okay with this.
Terra
There's
hits...
maybe the southwest spot with 3 low carbon, but again, you're still shipping things in, and it's just kind of an awkward spot.
So Terra hits level 2, HQ2 first, followed very shortly by Kanto. Terra immediately goes into a high aluminum mine, and Kanto notices that and sells out of all his aluminum, it looks like. Someone sold out of their aluminum anyway. Terra also takes a second water and has 2 claims left.
So right there for Kanto, there was kind of a mistake in terms of base configuration. I think what I would have done is saved the claims, and aluminum's $8. You don't need 2 quarries at that point. I think what I would have done is gone into 2 solar panels where the aluminum was, stuck the goon squad in the middle one, and maybe go for a 3rd solar panel and really try to push for a good power play on this to get you over the hump, because steel's not all that great anyway, so
right.
You could skip it.
Terra's driving the price of steel down, which is going to help Kanto. They get those upgrades. Unfortunately, electronics remains stubbornly high.
Yeah.
For Kanto.
This is a part where what Kanto needs to do is pour all that money into silicon, essentially. Ooh, that's a... Oh, that's right, because the EMP exposed the goon there, so that way no more goons have been purchased, so Terra knows where to be in that case.
Yes, so that's a good move by Terra, forcing Kanto to spend the money for a goon to take that back, but Kanto definitely wanted to do that. Kanto is currently making 417 a second off of power. These 3 interestingly configured solar panels, although I see he's using this one Black Magic solar panel to give adjacency bonus to that aluminum quarry. So that is fine.
Oh, you mean, well, using it for the aluminum as well as the silicon, but still, those are two aluminum that need to be rotated out stat, and in that case, yes. There's a very good... I also noticed that Ichbineinkonto is, or I'll just call him Kanto,
shipping water,
is selling down silicon, which is a big mistake because Terror has no silicon. This is a part where you could be manipulating silicon, essentially making those glass kilns unprofitable.
Right, and there
we go. Yes. Just like that.
Yes, Kanto, realizing that mistake, immediately shuts down those glass kilns. Unfortunately for Kanto, he just received a nice boost in cash from the solar flare, but that's essentially going to kill the power price. That will allow him to get up into HQ3 before Terra Incognita, which is what you want to see as a robot player, but it sort of limits the long-term ability for Kanto to produce money with this power right now.
So in this case, this is where you know, steel is at 160. You have to, he's got way too much aluminum. He needs to get out of those, buy up some iron, go, you know, ship some iron from somewhere. Even if it was a slightly closer one, as long as you have a little bit of iron, that's where I would probably go ahead and just sacrifice and go get some at this point, because steel is just too expensive to overcome at this point, and if you don't get into it, then your opponent's going to be into it and making all the money from it. So.
Right, you can kind of see that huge spike in price when Kanto upgraded, gave a decent chunk of cash into Terror's pockets. Although he is currently, yes, and Terra is going into another metal mine and more steel, realizing that Kanto doesn't have an easy way to get into steel, so why not make money off of your opponent?
And so this is the time. I also want to note that Kanto is still sitting on. Oh, okay, there we go. So there's a claim going out to another water, which I disagree with, because you don't really need more water at this point, especially now that water's $7. What you have to do at this point is suck it up. You're not going to be making money on power anymore. Just go across the map and get some source of iron. I mean, even if you have to go get the high one, go get it right now and just give up on your power play, because power is probably not going to be coming back now that Phil has a Geo.
Well, I'm casting.
So,
Kanto going for a $12,000 superconductor, which was much better than the 64K superconductor option he won last game. This will just further kill.
It'll just kill the power market. So once again, kill the power market. Power market's dead. It's definitely not coming back now. Go get your high iron across the map. Don't worry about the power price associated with shipping it, and get into steel, because the longer it takes him to get into steel, the farther and farther back he's going to start slipping.
Right. So right now, looking at Terror's base, Terror has a couple farms up, 4 steel mills split nicely so they can't be hit by EMPs, and 2 glass kilns that are currently turned off. They are flipping back and forth between actually making money and not making money, depending on the price of silicon. Since Terror just has those glass kilns off, I'd rather see them moved into some electrolysis reactors.
Yes.
They seem to be the largest on-world moneymakers outside of steel. That way he's at least using 2 tiles to make money instead of wasting these 2 claims right now.
Correct. And what I would have done is exactly what you said: replace the glass with reactors and don't replace the farms, because in 1v1, if you're not in life support, then your opponent can exploit it. So tearing those farms down is really costly because of the price of glass. So getting back into them, if your opponent wants to start manipulating food, it's just a little bit more of a hurdle. It would have been better to just leave those on, even though food is so low.
And food
or,
is
leave
low
those there and then just go into glass.
Kanto is auto-selling food.
Yes.
Which was fine when Terror had farms up, but now that Terror has moved out in his farms is a mistake. And there's no other way to put it.
And he needs to be putting all of his money into food, and so so now he has stopped and he's starting to put the money into food. Unfortunately, when you have an expansive at HQ4 and you're any other HQ at HQ3, you're already starting to slip behind. If you're keeping pace with an expansive, you're losing, because they have more tiles than you.
Right. Kanto decides that he's got a majority by Terror now, or he is not going to be able to win this game.
Nope. But here's the thing: you're essentially wasting your time at this point, because you only have 15K in cash. You're never going to be able to push to get over that hump at the moment. So you need to focus on expanding and just trying to keep pace as opposed to pushing into terror, because ultimately you're never going to get, I mean, you're looking at what, 20, 40, 60, 80K
Right. Looking
left.
at Kanto's base right now, he still has these two solar panels up there making $5 a second when he could be in a glass kilns, which would make him, on a single tile, would make 76 a second, and that's not even accounting for adjacency bonuses. So Kanto could be making a lot more money than he currently is making just by moving these tiles around.
And I would like to point out again, though, unfortunately, that Kanto went back into auto selling food, and that just helps fill that just helps terror that much more. The other thing is, and this is something I see a lot, and occasionally I've actually started to make sure that I force myself to do this. The temptation when you're in this spot is, oh no, I've got to get into reactors so I can make some money. The thing is, those reactors were so incredibly expensive to get into, and Kanto doesn't have any steel. So essentially what you're doing is you're handing steel money to your opponent in that case. And what you need to do instead of going into something like that is just hold out a little bit longer, maybe make some steel of your own, and get over the hump to HQ4, and then you can put up the reactors. So don't constantly switch, or you're essentially pushing your upgrade off until a lot later, and you're losing out on all that money. Now,
not to mention,
this is kind of an awkward spot, because there's the... Did I just see a patent lab go up?
Yes, Terror has a patent lab. He's currently researching virtual reality for his pleasure dome that is being constructed right now. The pleasure dome will make 80 right now based on its placement without virtual reality due to his really low power price. And power doesn't seem to be climbing anytime soon. So 80 is not too bad.
Well, it's making 124.
Well, yes.
It's actually making, yeah, so it's making 124. I don't know that I'm not positive about the actual Pleasure Dome placement, because I don't know if it might be better to push it out a little bit farther just to hope that the colony goes around it. By pushing it up against the colony, then you have a little bit less possible adjacency. So, but in actuality, I mean, it probably won't end up mattering. So I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that Terror hasn't gotten into food. That's a big shortfall in this case.
The black market is online.
Right,
and
Terror not going.
Claims are 5K.
Boo. We have seen a couple of nukes get thrown around. Now we have our third nuke. Both players are trying to nuke out the other player's water. Want 2 nukes on Kanto's water by Terror, and 1 nuke back on Terror's water by Kanto. Terror's operating off of 2 lows and a trace, and Kanto has 1 low and a trace. I expect the water price to start rising. Well, like you said, those private claims are only 5K.
Yep. Now this is so Kanto's been doing a great job in terms of parking all of their money into farms, and now that's going to come to an end. That just needs to switch over. I mean, in this case, you can't have just farms or just reactors, or somebody will just, it's just a giant shell game of, as soon as you tear down those reactors and put up farms, then they cash out all the money from the farms and put it into reactors.
And
so
both
like that.
Yarand and Tacticus have pointed out that if Kanto had went into a HQ3 hacker array, he could have made really good work with those markets that Terror has not been in.
Yeah, but I still don't like that play. Mostly because you're essentially wasting your time. I mean, you can go into a hack array and start hacking those things up, but by the time you get a hacker array up, by the time you get your hack off, Terror's just gotten enough money in order to defend himself, and in that case, you've wasted a whole lot of time. You really just need to expand, and you know that. I mean, now Terror got all of that steel money and is in a dominating position, I think, still.
Yes, Terra is in a dominating position. I think the idea was to go into a hacker array early when Kanto realized that he was going to have a hard time getting to HQ4, and just kind of play around with the life support costs and punish Terror. Now, unfortunately, this upgrade just meant that Kanto bought a ton of steel, and the previously dead steel market is now very nice again, sitting at 118k for Terror. And Terra does have 4 steel mills online right now. I've been making money on both the steel side and the iron side, so Terra's in a pretty good place.
What I would like to see cleaned up from Terror is there's been a whole lot of building rotation, and you've got to be careful. I know he does have 4 steel mills online, but they're frequently, especially in 1v1, when you're rotating that, when you're rotating your buildings like that constantly, essentially what you're doing is you're throwing out steel money in order to rotate to something else, but then he's frequently had to rotate back into either reactors or food or things like that. It's better to just, I mean, he has a ton of claims. He has 5 claims, so instead of rotating, just leave things down and expand. You've got all those claims to use, so leave your food up, leave your reactors up, and then add some things like your electronics, for instance, instead of just tearing things down and then rebuilding them later.
Yes, so Kanto has made, as we mentioned earlier, level 4. He is going into a hacker array, which is disguised itself as a patent lab at the colony. Though I don't believe the hacker array has been used much by Kanto. Let's check really quick. No, he built it but has not.
This is the point where Terror should be going in to kill Kanto, because there's enough money. You could try to. You're almost at enough money. Actually, what I really want to see Terror do is just stick down the rest of their claims. Stick down his claims. He's still got 2 claims left from a long time ago. Go into carbon. Go into anything like.
Another mistake I think that Kanto's been making is he's had all this money parked up in Terror's stock after Terror defended himself, and he could have sold out of that money. Out of that stock, use that money to upgrade faster and been in a much better position to challenge Terror in this late game. But right now, Terror has a cash lead on Kanto. He has a production potential lead as an expansive, although both of the players are at HQ5.
Yes. So there is that hacker array there that's still been unused. What I would love to see, the market that I would love to see Kanto get into is power, honestly, because you've got somebody that doesn't have enough power up right now. Carbon is extremely expensive. Silicon's not all that great, either, and so he doesn't have a very good way to get into power. I mean, plus you have superconductor on the other end for Kanto. So
the power price has come back up as the Chinese colony has been a little bit schizophrenic and has spawned as many office buildings as it has glass buildings here. And I think that's kind of caught Terror off guard right now. Kanto's solar panels, which we've been criticizing him for having up the entire game, are now making almost 400 a second apiece. And he has plenty of silicon, so I'd like to see him move this low power, this $9 aluminum mine into another solar panel. He still has debt to pay off, about 50k, before he can make power money, but he does have a good chance of making that power money.
Kanto needs to sell out of one of Terror's stocks really quickly. Oh, yeah, you better sell out or you're dead.
Yeah,
I don't think he's
trying
noticed
to go
yet.
it alone.
He hasn't noticed yet. He needs to sell out or he's dead. Oh, and that's...
And that mistake unfortunately cost Kanto the game and the series.
Man, if Kanto had been able to extend the game for a longer period of time and say played with power, I mean, it does take forever in order to debt spiral. However, that's roughly a 75K debt tick that hits in a in a couple of seconds. So yeah, that would have been pretty powerful. Bummer.
So, due to the outcome of this game, Kanto will drop down to the casuals bracket, and Terra Incognita will be seeded into the regulars bracket for the rest of the tournament. This is a double elimination tournament once these preliminary games have finished. So Terra will be in the winners or losers side of the double elimination bracket on the regular side, and Kanto will be in the casual side. Both players are talking about the game right now in chat. I believe we covered a lot of what happened during that game pretty effectively. There was some disagreement between you and I and some of the other expert players in chat as to whether Kanto should have gone into a hacker array at HQ level 3 or not.
Yeah, I think hacker array level 4 is good, but I mean, just getting additional tiles with the prices the way that they were, and being an HQ down right there, knowing that if you don't expand and start to match some of the expansive tiles, they're going to take all of the cash from all those markets. So yeah, I think that just trying to keep pace a little bit more, I think, would have been a better strategy to make sure that Terror can't profit. Because essentially, Terror, by upgrading and being in a full HQ ahead, you've got a lot more claims. You've got, 4 more claims than your opponent at that point, and you can go into markets that they can't be in. So you take all of those profits and you can crash those markets before they get into it. And so I really think keeping pace and then going into a hacker array might have been my preferred way. But
yeah, so one interesting thing to point out is looking at the balance sheet, Kanto has made about 60K, 56K more than Terra Incognita throughout that game. It was just his, it had the potential to make more if he rotated some of those solar panels earlier. So I think even with that less than optimal founding start, if played a little bit better, he could have made it more of an interesting game between Terra and himself.
There's also the possibility in terms of turning off your power for a period of time to make the power price skyrocket, to push your opponent further into debt, make them have to go into there, and then crash the market again just by turning your power back on. Because there were frequent periods of time where Terror just did not have enough power for all of those buildings that were up there, but selling the power essentially gives them a little bit more of a free pass and softens some of their debt. So you can go one of two ways. You can use the superconductor, stick up one more panel, or you can just keep all of your money in life support that they're not in, because again, frequently Terror was in farms and not reactors, or reactors and not farms, and that's a huge mistake. Because your opponent can play with it. So as long as you just keep all of your money in one, I mean, you can doubly put them so far into D debt that they'll never be able to come back from it, just by stopping your auto selling and then just moving all of your money around. Eventually, if they get into both farms and reactors, which they need to be in, just keep nuking out their water, and then you've got those markets all to yourself. So then you can just park it in water, and then they're just dead.